Welcome to the E16 podcast, reporting to you from Pikeville High School.
What is up, guys? My name is Ian.
I'm Ashton.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jacob.
And we are the E16 podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about motivation and personal development. And we got a special guest here today to tell us a story.
Guys, thank you all for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's an honor, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you for coming on.
It's an honor having you.
Played football whenever I was younger. I loved the sport. Went on to play in college, but I loved it. In 7th grade, I came out for the team, and we had a traditional middle school, and came out for the team in 7th grade and took the position of an 8th grader. And that didn't sit well with an 8th grade player, and he decided he was going to take it out on me every day. So I would walk down the hallways, be in the locker room in different places, and he always found a way to make sure I was uncomfortable or upset. He'd push me in lockers and things like that. It was a tough time in my life.
Yeah, that sounds really bad. So this 8th grader, did he play a lot before you started playing?
He did. He was a starter. I was on the offensive line, and I loved it. I loved everything about football, and I was so excited to be in junior high and play. And he was a starter the year before, and so we started the new season. He was starting in the beginning, and I took his starting position before the first game. And I guess it was devastating to him, which I can imagine it would be. But I did. I took his position, and he made sure he took it out on me every day.
Losing your spot can always be tough. Even so, you shouldn't take it out on somebody else.
Yeah, so I actually have a question. So how did it affect your mental state at the time of when you were getting bullied by this kid?
It really affected me in a huge way. I fell out of love with football for a while. It hurt my grades. I didn't want to come to school. I wanted to avoid him. And in order to avoid him, I had to stay away from football some. And so I started to not like football anymore because that was part of it.
Yeah.
All right, so another question. How did it affect your grades and work ethic in school, like at the time?
It affected it in a major way. I got to where I didn't want to go in the hallways. I didn't want to go to class. I didn't want to be anywhere on campus. I went from 1 week loving football to the next week, scared.
Scared to go almost.
I was so fearful of him.
Yeah. Do you think you'd be where you are now if you didn't overcome all of it?
It's a great question. I feel like there's so many other things that happened in my life that made me who I am today. That got me on the path that I'm on to be who I am today. But this incident and going through that made me who I am as a professional now in my career. I feel like that allowed me to become more passionate about what I do as a professional in my job title. And it lets me come to work every day with more of a purpose, and also to look for those things, in people, to see if I see any of those warning signs or anything like that. So I'm able to really use that insight because you don't really understand something until you actually go through it. And I went through it. I actually went through that feeling, and so it breaks my heart when I see someone else go through those.
That really helps you relate with a lot of the people you can help with it.
It helps me relate with everybody. All walks of life. It helps me relate to the most athletic, popular, happiest kid, or the kid that is never around anybody else that kind of goes through tough times and really doesn't have a lot of people around them and things like that. So yeah, it's a huge motivation for me.
Yeah, so we got one last question for you. So what advice would you give the kids or just people in general that might be going through a situation similar to this?
Well, it all boils down to a quote by Dr. Seuss to beat it all, which is, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And for me, that means be who you are, say how you feel, and love everybody, treat everybody with kindness. And if they matter, if they matter, they're not going to mind about the way you are, the person that you are. They're going to love you regardless. They're going to respect you and be kind to you regardless. And if they're not, then they don't matter. Ultimately, just be happy within yourself and accept who you are and treat everybody else around you the way that you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, well, that's a great lesson to learn. I mean, I'm sure the situation is terrible, but I'm sure it has shaped you into who you are today, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
it has.
It's like crazy to think this happens everywhere. Like it's not just didn't happen to you; it happens to everybody.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming out here today. As again, we are the E16 podcast. My name is Ian.
My name's Ashton.
My name's Jackson.
My name's Jacob.
And we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you all.
Thank you all for listening. Shout out to the Technology Student Association for making this possible.